Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Off-Air Voiceover
Hooray!
Podcast. It gives me enormous pleasure to say that we have two fantastic voiceovers, colleagues, friends, dare I say now. We've known each other for a long time. Annie and Anthony, thank you so much for coming on today.
Pleasure. Thank you for
Thanks
asking
for having us.
We've, as those of you listening will know, I've said many times that I have had an ambition to try and get a couple of different voiceovers on at the same time, and I'm so thrilled that we've managed to do it today. New format, new screen,
and we're so
software.
excited. I am going to say though, like if it goes wrong, we are going to blame them. So this might be the last time we are friends.
I want full credit for your ratings dropping.
And we'll give it you. That's right.
Thank you. Yeah, that's good.
Please divert all complaints this way.
Yeah. I could do with some incoming email. Jesus.
Just as well. So just to clarify. So yet again, changed environment. So I'm back in the UK, and where I'm staying, the cottage has no internet. There's no Wi-Fi. So I've been using 4G to power my laptop, like hotspotting it. And it's absolutely obliterated my data plan.
Shit.
So then what I did was I went on BT Wi-Fi. I did those like hotspot plans you can get, like a day pass or whatever, because it's countryside. So I wasn't expecting much. I bought a day pass, checked it, and the internet speed was like 9 megabytes. I was like, this is can't work. So thankfully, my aunt, she's only up the road. She's got high-speed internet. I was like, okay. So, yeah, no studio, but Max, they have a great microphone thing. So this has got to be how I'm doing my episode today. So apologies, it's not studio quality, but hopefully it's salvageable. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really exciting. So on this episode, I'm a bit nervous about this episode because it was something that I thought about doing, and I feel a bit vulnerable talking about it, and also like I might come across like a massive knob, which is a concern.
I'm sure you
So the Vox Awards came out this week, and I was massively honoured to be nominated for Female Voiceover Performance of the Year, which is fucking amazing, and I'm thrilled. But I also feel a bit numb and a bit in shock, disbelief, all those things. And I've talked a bit about this with Mikey before, and I've talked about loads of videos and how so often we have these feelings. And I know people say like, oh, you're being modest, but I know I'm not going to win, and that's okay. I'm just really grateful to be nominated. But I know that if by some miracle I did win, I would absolutely feel like I don't deserve it. And I'd be stood there being like, oh, I shouldn't be here. And like when I was skimming through the list of names and I saw my name on that, I was like, what? What is happening? But I know that I'm not alone in this feeling. And I wanted to talk about it with you guys to talk about it. And maybe you don't share those feelings, but I suspect that you might share those feelings.
Because you think we're shit as well.
And I was worried it was going to be too serious this episode. I knew the right guy to get on.
Joe, it's funny you said that because me and Anthony joke sometimes. So like we're in the same category. Like, oh, forget it, not a chance.
Yeah.
I think that's human, though, isn't it? I think getting that high when you find out you're nominated, and then all the imposter syndrome creeping in is just such a normal thing. And I think you're kind of just not going to overthink it and feel bad if you feel a bit numb or, like you say, a bit worried about, what if you do win? How will you feel? What would you say? All that kind of stuff. I think overthinking is the killer of
well, probably.
feeling good.
But like, yeah, I mean, well, that's very true. But Mikey and I were saying it's amazing how many voiceover artists announce their nomination by saying they're in disbelief or whatever. And obviously there could be the side where no one's going to say, oh yeah, I completely expected this.
You have to listen. Let's call it for what you have to play the humble game. You're not going to go and so fucking right. Damn right, I got nominated.
But I'd love to see a bit more of that. Like I worked really hard. I deserve this, but I haven't seen that yet.
Are you disappointed with how you feel, like the come down from getting the nomination? Is that what's irritating you?
I think I'm still in shock, maybe. It just doesn't feel real. And there's so many amazing people on that list, and you don't feel worthy. It's just this, I don't know, like, I hoped, this was an aspiration of mine, 100%, and I wanted to work towards it. I'm just surprised. I'm just genuinely surprised that it's happened and so soon. And it's a bit like, what? I don't know. Maybe it's just shock. I don't know.
All I would say, I mean, you've been nominated before, Jen, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
So is your level of disbelief and shock this time around similar to last time or more?
I mean, I've always been a bit shocked, but probably more now, I would say. So at the One Voice Awards this year, I put myself forward and wasn't nominated for anything. And again, wasn't expecting to be, but still was disappointed.
Of course.
And I think that Mikey and I were saying as well that you can't help it, but after the awards nominations come out, social media is just rife with all the... So if you haven't been nominated, then it's a toxic place to be, isn't it?
Yeah. You need 48 hours away from social media.
Need to be
because your timeline is full of it.
Yeah, I'd give it a good half a week. Yeah.
Yeah. And you definitely have that. Oh, I'm so pleased for you. Oh, I really wish that I had that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? Obviously, there is always a huge amount of humility because, and just to kind of just stress as well, this isn't an episode to talk all about award nominations. No. It's largely about and we have dabbled in the mental health side of things a little bit, but we want to go into it a bit more because there is so much that goes into the peaks and the troughs, and whether that is an award nomination, booking a job, not booking a job, etc. And it's fascinating to hear other people's, sort of interpretations of that. But what I was going to say was, I've lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? I shouldn't do that. This is why I shouldn't side quest, because I have a point. I do a quick side quest and I forgot where the main road is. So
were you going to talk more generally, like in voiceover? Just
we
have
to be have that self belief, don't we, to pick ourselves up?
Yeah. I think what I was going to say was we work towards bettering ourselves, and we try to, if we've got a passion for doing this job, we try and improve ourselves. So if we do get a nomination, I sometimes think, where does that self-sabotage come from? Because we strive to be better. We strive to do a great piece of work. So when somebody goes, we actually really liked it, it's like, really? Yeah. It's a weird phenomenon. Yeah. It's like, something like if you're I don't know, a track runner and you're trying to get your best time, and then you get it and someone goes, oh, well done, you go, really? It's like, it's there in black and white. Your hard work is.
But I don't know if they would do that.
Time.
I mean, the whole stereotype about actors is like, we're a needy load of fuckers, and that we always need that external validation. But there's no other industry that seems to have that reputation. That's that we crave that.
It might be true in other areas like artists.
Oh, true. Yeah, I think a lot creative.
But I think generally creative is right. But music as well. But I think there's perhaps, with the exception of art, nothing else that's quite as subjective potentially. When you're asked to
true.
When you're asked to put something into these award categories, and particularly now over the last couple of years, they only allow one entry per genre.
Yeah.
So you couldn't go, well, I've done 3 blinding commercials, I'm going to enter all 3 of them.
Yeah, you've got to choose one.
I do
think that's a good idea, actually. I think that
it's a good idea, but you do sit there going, well, how the fuck am I supposed to tell which of these is this one is more interesting? This is less me, so therefore is it more surprising?
Yeah.
So you're left with this dilemma.
Yeah, you have to make that. You're guessing what they might like with any audition, aren't you? Yeah. You're guessing what they want sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Like auditions, so we have that dilemma all the time. Give us your first take. Oh, that's not what we had in mind at all, you useless piece of shit.
I think also with Vox, like their thing of the last year and this year is like human performances. So I think that kind of guided me as to what I was going to send. I think that's quite helpful actually, because you kind of know roughly what kind of performances they're after. But it is a guessing game.
I find that a lot of work these days. I was having a conversation with someone on LinkedIn a couple of days ago, and they were saying about how a lot of performances now, and I could relate to it, they are leaning on a human emotive performance. Like, you still have your run-of-the-mill generic stuff that it needs to have a certain sound, but the need for more natural human speak that people can relate to, I found, has gone up. So then obviously now you've got award categories that lean into that as well. I think it's I like the way they've changed it. I think it's a good shift that they've done.
And I think it makes it just feel a bit different from One Voice as well. Unless they change One Voice, but it just feel like there's a slightly different slant on the awards.
Mm.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyway. Yeah.
So we obviously we took now we've moved over here. So just to we've had to move over just so for clarification. We've had to move over to Zoom because there's a couple of connection issues. So we're going again from here. So one thing I didn't say at the very beginning to the both of you, how has your summer been? How's the last few weeks been like?
How are you? We are bad at this. We're bad hosts. Have a drink, settle in. How have you been?
Oh, well, we're very well. It's nice of you to ask.
Yeah. You want to go first and say how your summer's been?
Yeah, absolutely. It was glorious. It was like perfection. It was like swimming in money. No, it was wank. As in the summer itself didn't start till July. So I spent so I spent June and early July just angry. Because it was still fucking winter. And then sort of incoming work fell off the cliff a bit. So
yeah, same here.
Yeah. So a couple of months of sitting there going, maybe it's not just me. Maybe hopefully. Oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's a weird phenomenon because I went through exactly the same thing. And although it doesn't fix or change anything, there is a tremendous relief when you see other people say they're experiencing the quiet patch as well. It's like, yes, okay, I've not done something wrong. I've not alienated all my clients. It's just a seasonal thing that comes and goes all the time. But yeah, I felt a bit of solace from finding out that I wasn't the only one for sure.
Can I ask then, as someone who's not as experienced as you guys, is it like this every summer, or was it this summer particularly bad?
I had a similar summer last year, so I was preparing myself for it. I had a really good June, and I was like, wow, if it carries on like this, it's going to be amazing. What if summer's like that this year? And I was like, hang on a minute, last year it was really rubbish around this time, and it was again. So, yeah.
I didn't notice quite the same shift, but I think that it was perhaps it was masked because I had a couple of quite well paid gigs.
Okay.
And that kind of early summer
it just takes a couple, doesn't it?
So you're not having to think about in the same way as, I track what's coming in. I look at it in that, I've been freelance. Same amount of time as you, Mike. I've been freelance since 2008.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah. So, I'm used to instability, fear, and self-loathing.
I'm only just getting used to it.
Oh, it's a lovely place to be. Welcome.
Yeah, it's a lovely place to be.
Yeah. So I think it masked it. I don't think, but I also don't think, because I've only been full-time voicing for 2.5 years. I sort of did it concurrently with copywriting before. So again, I didn't have a true
an idea of what
that.
Yeah, same.
I think for me, I remember last summer being quiet, but this back to back 2 months, June and July specifically, was like significantly quieter. And then August, out of nowhere, mid-August, I'd say it just started to just come alive. You know what I mean? And there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just
But the thing is, holidays and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are away, especially over like the second half of July, first half of August. Like school holidays and stuff.
Yeah,
projects just aren't happening as much.
But then this absolutely is what I was saying before. Is like, how do people stay motivated? And I think it's fantastic that people seem to be talking about it more. But like, how do you not? Does the self-doubt and whatever creep in like immediately, or do you like think, oh, it's a bit quiet?
It never leaves, Jen. It's always there.
Yeah.
It's a constant. Like for me personally, when it comes to self-doubt, okay, I consider myself I am a confident person. I'm just hypercritical.
Yeah.
And I think through the back of that, the self-doubt can be, I feel like I've done well, but like I said earlier on, like I can listen to a piece of work I've done, I can be proud of it. But rather than just like take a deep breath and go, oh, I'm proud of that, it's like I'll listen to it over and over. Go, I wish I could change that inflection. Wish I could change that nuance. Just can't let it go. I have to consistently look for ways to improve something that can't be changed. So the self-doubt comes from then when I go into my next project, I'm trying to stop that from happening. I want to try and get it right as perfect as possible first time round. If I'm not happy with it, then there can be a conversation made of like, I don't think am I good enough or anything like that, but I'll look at other people, I'll listen to other people's work, and I think, God, that's good. And I think, how far off it am I actually? You know what I mean?
You're not. No, 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 no. That's because and I can only say this. I would probably suffer the same thoughts as you, but you can say it objectively from the outside, can't you? That what you've heard, you might think is perfection, and the client probably thought was perfection, and perhaps it is perfection. But were you the one who'd recorded it? And this may be true of the artist who's recorded it. They might be sitting there going, "I wish I'd inflected that word differently. I wish I'd placed it a bit, just slowed down a bit there. Is that a bit
Absolutely.
Was it patterned? Was it? Well, to be fair, they directed me. The feedback was there's so many variables. So you take one script that you thought, I could have done that differently. You've overanalyzed it to death, and then you try and think about that in the next session on a completely different client, different style. Blah. You can't. It doesn't work that way. Everything is so individual.
And I think you'll always be your harshest critic. That's what they say, and I think it's so true.
Yeah.
And I find that in live sessions, because I'm more in the flow and you're just hearing what the client wants, and when they're happy, you stop. I find that so much more freeing, actually.
Yeah, because you're feeling it, aren't you? You're
Yeah,
not
you're
listening
feeling it.
back, and you just like you're in the moment, and you're feeling it, and you go with how that emotion takes you. Love it.
And if it's just me recording, I will record so many more takes. And I try not to now because it's a waste of time. But I will self-edit. It's just, it's very
different. I did an IVR
different.
this morning, and I must have done it about 17 times. I'm like, no one gives a shit. No one gives I just couldn't quite get it how I wanted it. And like, they're just doing the shopping. Fucking move on. You don't have time for this. But it's just
you want to
get gets you, doesn't it?
Yeah, you want to do the best you can do.
Yeah.
But I think you've got to balance that with
the ones I always, the one of the ones I obviously struggle with, but I always can never settle on. It's like those probably more commercial-esque ones where it opens with a question like, "Are you a homeowner? Are you a homeowner? Are you a homeowner?" Like, fucking
but
homeowner.
that's because it's really unnatural. I think you're like, there's not many times that you.
Well, that's the thing. But they'll say it needs to be just natural and conversational. But natural conversation, like, "Are you a homeowner?" Like, "Are you a homeowner? Are you a homeowner?" There's nothing natural about it.
It loses all sense of meaning, doesn't it, when you say it over and over again?
Yeah,
it does. It just becomes a noise.
Like that. Yeah, taglines when you're like trying to get this tiny bit just right. Oh, yeah, nightmare.
And I think that's the thing. I'll do something like that over and over and over and over again to the point where it does become a noise, and I'm sending it off. I'm like, send. I think they're going to listen to it like, who have we booked? But I think it's just I think with this kind of work, it's creatively, obviously, we all want to try and do the best piece of work we ever possibly can. So there's always I imagine like a bit of a self perfectionism. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to put out something substandard. You want it to be great. You want to be something that resonates with people. My goal, I always say, is I want to get a crier. I know that sounds really weird, but if you can do a piece of work that makes someone actually cry, I think that for me is like the emotional jackpot.
You want to play a crier.
No, not like in some sadistic, narcissistic
sobbing,
way.
like mess.
I just mean something that's so resonating.
Of course,
make people feel something.
Yeah, you do.
Absolutely right. Yeah. So I think it's just one of those battles of internal emotions where you sort of, for me anyway, I can overanalyze things, and then to the point where, like, have you had it where you probably had it right at the beginning, but you've overanalyzed it so much that where you've ended
one of the
up.
first takes is the best, isn't it? Often.
But not always. Because sometimes
not always.
It's
no,
a flat motherfucker when you play it back and go,
piece of shit, and you're like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Have you got like a system with the auditions? Like, so if you've got like a cutoff, like 3, and that's it. Otherwise, I'm overdoing it.
No, but I need to have that system. For sure.
Do you mean 3 different versions, and therefore
no,
or just I'm going through it 3 times, and that's your fucking lot, and then I need to move on?
Because I found that I was like, I'd audition and I'd overcomplicate it by, like, I know what I need to do. I'm in the ballpark, so do a little bit of a warm up. Then it's like, right, three versions of it, and the third one really should be where it is at. And then just otherwise, I'm like, I'm on version 25 and version 3 or 4 was good enough. You know what I mean? Like, there comes a point where it's like, it's getting ridiculous now. Just send the fucking thing. You know,
and then you listen back and then you're like, oh, I've gone up there. I should have gone down. And like, the client is not going to be thinking that, are they? They're going to be like, oh, that made me feel X. They're not going to be like, oh, I wouldn't have made that choice. I don't know.
If they've listened to it at all.
Well,
yeah, that's true.
If it even gets
so
played,
5 seconds,
yeah. I find I find that an interesting thing, actually, because like, somebody said to me recently they were pressured to get an audition back as fast. Oh, that was it. Yeah, they sent a file off via WeTransfer, and you get like a notification when it's been downloaded. And they were pressured, like, we need this audition as fast as possible. Can you let us know? Like, yeah. 6 days later, still hadn't downloaded it. Like, what is that about?
No,
Do you know what I mean? So sometimes they don't even, they just don't listen. Like, they just change their mind or whatever, and like, they don't even listen to it.
Just very briefly, the weird thing about WeTransfer is it will only tell you if they click a certain link that's come through, but if they copy and paste it, I think, or anything like that, it doesn't always tell you. So yeah, it could be that. It may be that they just haven't listened.
Yeah, it could. Well, I think sometimes I only imagine if somebody's doing things at the last minute and they're rushing, they'll have gone to various different people. So you're maybe one of like 4 or 5. If they found what they're looking for, they probably won't even bother listening to the rest of them, I suppose.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, it's true. But yeah, I suppose, I think, like you said before, Jen, about the self-doubt stuff. I think it's just something that's in us a little bit. But when you've been self-employed, though, Anthony, you might be able to relate to this. I think you just, I don't know, you build a bit of a resilience to it, don't you?
Yeah.
I suppose, like.
Yeah. I mean, so this might sound ridiculous. I don't know, my overriding feeling when I send work off, and this was true when it was written work rather than audio, would be, oh, please fucking like it. There's essentially that I don't believe, apart from those clients where you've done repeated things that are supposed to be very similar, like in a sequence, in a program of some sort. I don't feel like I necessarily I'm going to get approved first, right out the gate, and I don't necessarily mean they might have a pickup or two. I mean, part of me is thinking, what if they think that's fucking awful? What if they think that? And and that is true of almost everything I send to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's that was for, I've written so many thousands of annoying words for people to have to read. And it didn't change that feeling every time I sent something off. Was like, just please please let me be good enough.
I mean, I find the human psyche so interesting. Like, this is just, and maybe people are different, aren't they? Different, because I like, Mikey, what you were saying before about the building resilience. I think I'm resilient as fuck. Like, I've been acting on and off for a long time, and you're constantly dealing with knockbacks and picking yourself up and carrying on. And yeah, I always have that feeling of like not being quite good enough.
I don't think that ever goes away, though. I think
maybe not.
There's only one person, and I won't name them, that I've spoken to about this in voiceover, who said they don't get that. They don't feel imposter syndrome. They have full confidence in what they do.
Wow.
But I think that's like very rare.
It is rare.
That is rare.
Has that person won a massive awards? Are they like hugely well known, or?
They are very well known. I'm sure they have won some awards. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but they have. Yeah. But yeah,
really
so I think
so it is possible.
Yeah.
This mystical
I know I won't ever get there. Yeah, same. I was going to say, like, I think because of actually childhood stuff, which I won't go into now, I don't think that I'll ever lose that anxiety. And I've worked on it a lot. Like you were asking, Jen, just like when we were messaging, like about, do you get therapy and stuff like that? Well, actually, I have had therapy, and not specifically about this, but other things in life that I think has helped me have more confidence or resilience and that kind of thing. So Yeah, I think that's worth looking at if it's something that's really getting in the way of someone, because it was for me.
Yeah, I think
That's amazing.
therapy.
Well done
I
for
think
getting it.
I like the fact in this day and age now things like that are spoken about so much more
Yeah.
openly
Yeah.
and confidently, because it's talking is one of the best things you can do just to get it
Yeah.
off your chest. When you hold on to all these thoughts, and this is part of the reasons why we had decided to start this podcast in the first place, because we're very sort of, I don't really hide much. I'm very open and honest about stuff. So,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think it's quite good just to, because I'm a human being. I have good days, I have bad days, and so does everybody else. There's no shame in admitting that. That's the makeup of who we are. Like
Yeah.
there's nobody out there that's walking around totally and utterly perfect. You know what I mean? So I don't know why there's a fear about admitting that.
Some would think they are.
I know. I was laughing at
Well,
that. I was
yeah,
thinking, well,
yeah.
like,
But I think and it's like Anthony said before, like, yeah, I had a shit summer. That's okay to say that. We don't need to live in
Mm.
this make believe world where it's like
Yeah.
I'm busy every single day. It's like, no, some weeks are terrible. Well, that's
Yeah.
just the ups and downs of it. Like, there's no shame in. So I'm all for it. I think things like therapy are great. I think they're really great especially if it's
Yeah.
if it can help you overcome sort of like different hurdles of any kind.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I think as
You're
well.
only,
Sorry, go on.
I was only going to say that you've already got to have a positive mindset in some ways, Annie, in order to take that step and be open
Yeah,
to it.
so true.
Because so much of therapy is about you readdressing the way you think and feel about
Yeah,
things.
I
And if
I
you've
think
got a cynical mind, that's harder to
yeah.
do.
Yeah, and I think you've definitely got to be very sort of self-reflective for it to work well, which I think is something I've always been like that, but sometimes over analytical, and like we said, it really got in my head, and I'm sure it's held me back, like career wise and stuff, especially when I was younger. Absolutely, I know that now, especially since having therapy. But like, yeah, I think there's a freedom with being able to use therapy to help you in all sorts of parts of life. But yeah, I think I can see the knock-on effect and how it's helped is with confidence, and I think actually also experience has helped as well.
Yeah,
Like the
I
more
think
experience I've had, the
I think
more
as
I
I've
can
got
go into a
older
session. Yeah.
as
But
well.
just even with voiceover sessions, like I used to get so nervous before live sessions in my booth, like really nervous, like not in a good way. And like I would go in and like they wouldn't notice it, but I would feel it, and I could sometimes hear it in my voice. But just with the more and more sessions I've done over the years, like that's just gone, and it's nice. But I needed to work through that, I think.
Do you ever
I
get
see.
it? Sorry, Mike, go
No,
ahead.
no, 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 no. Go. I'm going to keep stum. I've said too much. Go on, carry on.
No, that's not true. Do you ever have the thing where nerves appear where you didn't have them? Because I had that in this session this morning, really unexpectedly. Where
I shouldn't
it
have
was
laughed
fine.
then. Sorry.
That's it was all fine. I think I'd done the first read. Maybe I was halfway through the second, and all of a sudden I stand for my reads, and I have heard a very, very good point about the potential for sitting. Because while your body might be a bit more slouchy, you might need to be more aware of it. You are actually more relaxed.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
You can
It's
relax into it, whereas when you're standing, you automatically tense. And I felt my buttocks starting to quiver. I was just standing there going, oh, hang on. I could feel my legs and like just this slight jump. Like, why? I was fine a minute ago. What's going on? And having to suddenly cancel that out of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the trigger?
Awareness.
Do you know what the trigger
Oh
was?
no. And it was mid-sentence as well. So maybe it was
interesting.
one of those things where it was lots of long, annoying, overwritten sentences as well. So
Where do I breathe?
I was probably
Yeah.
aware, having given one read, right, that bit's coming up. Maybe it was just that. And it just suddenly triggered a little, well, you know what you need? Jiggly buttocks.
This will make you feel more relaxed.
Yeah, this will help.
I think we found the name of this episode.
Jiggly buttocks. I think I'm painting my arse in a bad light here. It's obviously firm, but nonetheless.
I love live sessions. I love them, but absolutely make no mistake. I remember many times in the past, and it can still happen in the future. The more experience you get, the more comfortable you get. So you go in there with like not an arrogance, but just a renewed confidence that I've got the script, I know how they want it, I've done this before, I'm more than happy with all these people on session, fine. And then you go into the session with what you believe is what they want, and it's not. And then I'm like, oh, I've nowhere else to go. I don't know what else to do. And in my head, everything else is, I'm like, my brain is just frantically searching for what they might want. But I was so convinced based on the information I was given, what they're asking for, and what they'd heard of my work before, since or something like that. So I go down that path, and then they don't want it. I just hit an absolute wall, and I can't creatively think, like, where do I go from here? How do I change it? And because it's part of that is, it's not that I don't know what to do, it's the panic. You know, because you think you know what you're going to
something
do,
unexpected, isn't it? Like
yeah,
anything unexpected in a session, like especially when you're doing like video games and stuff. I'm like, oh, do you want to try this? Do this character and in this accent that you haven't rehearsed in for a while, or whatever. Like, you know, that's the time when, even though it's like quite thrilling, that's when I might possibly start to kind of quake a bit inside. Or whatever.
Basically be going crazy at that point.
Yeah. I think the more you get used to just kind of being pulled in different directions and trying things out in a session, I think you get more used to it. But
and it can be so fun as long as you're able to embrace that.
Yeah, if you're having fun,
you're not just like,
you have a panic. Yeah.
That's where I guess a video game or an animation is just it is fun.
Yeah.
What you're doing is, whereas we can't pretend with the best will in the world that every corporate narration is fun. I enjoyed the result of today's work because the people were happy. I am getting paid some money. That's all good. The talking about it bit, while I enjoy what I do, I can't pretend that itself was a thrilling bit of text to bring to life.
Yeah. And like you said, especially if it's like really complicated, long sentences or like something medical. I think
when you know it's coming, that's scary.
I don't know if I did an audition for like a kind of an agency once, and they purposely had a really complex medical text, and I did stumble a bit and like quite a bit at first, but I kept going and like kept my cool, and they did say to me at the end, you know, that wasn't actually to see if you could say it perfectly, it was to see how you responded to that situation. So that was really interesting. But I'm sure it's something that producers are aware of, isn't that kind of thing, like how you keep your cool or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that I think I do like it, having those sessions where you're thrust into a situation you weren't quite expecting, and then you deliver on it. My God, the renewed confidence that you get off the back of that.
Yeah,
that's a good feeling. But one thing I saw, there was a post from somebody on LinkedIn the other day. She was referring to, what is her name now? I forgot what it was. She was talking about some common mistakes she sees newbies struggle with, and they throw in the towel a bit too soon, and that is dealing with rejection. And it's like this. There's almost like a, you know, I've spent time doing an audition for you. Why have you not emailed me back? And Jen, you kind of mentioned this, didn't you, recently? You said about, if I've spent time doing an audition for somebody and then they don't message me back, you were like, you're offended by it. And I was like, well, maybe just let it go. But
I think you're paraphrasing massively there, but
in the interest of time,
yeah.
So no, so I take back a little bit of what I said, because when I listened back to the episode, what you were saying was, if I've spent time on it, there's been a back and forth.
It was more if someone's personally asked me to audition,
right?
Rather than like a pay to play.
Yeah.
And I was like, then you could just at least say, no, we've gone with someone else.
Yeah, and I think my response was more of a generalization. But this post that this girl put, she was saying that some people, they have a real difficulty handling the rejection side of it. But I suppose that's just part of the course, though, isn't it? Like, you have to, I think, once you've sort of normalized that rejection is nothing personal, you know, you're either right for it or you're not. You know what I mean? That it's something like, I have this idea of just send and forget. You know what I mean? But there are jobs. Have you had a job that you've gone for that you thought you're absolutely nailed on, and then you've not got it, somebody else has got it? It does sting a little bit.
A little bit.
Especially when you're...
But it also shows you. There was a job I auditioned for, was contacted about this a few years ago while I was on holiday. I was on Rhodes, I think, in the middle of fucking nowhere. It was glorious. And I got contacted about this thing, and I said, well, I can only give you a phone, audition, because I literally had taken nothing deliberately. And they said, that's great. End client loved it, all booked in. And this was for a TV campaign. So we're always pleased about that for obvious reasons.
Yes, I will audition.
Yeah. And then it was put on hold. And then nothing happened. And then I think literally 6-7 months later,
whoa,
I heard it on TV.
Oh.
Not me, but with, and they'd gone in a totally different, it was still male, but a totally different voice. But also to the degree that you're like, what the fuck? You like, so I don't say that, I didn't take that personally. I was annoyed, obviously, because I was like, money. Fame, fortune, no, not that, but but it was just the money. But it was genuinely, it was one of those voices, and you do hear them occasionally, and they want real next door voice, but what they've found is actually real next door voice that doesn't cut through anything. The delivery was like it made like that throwaway feel too enthusiastic. It was
right.
Maybe it was one of the production crew last minute.
Maybe I can't afford this guy. Let's.
Yeah, I am very expensive.
But there is a rise in that user-generated content. They are, especially with social media.
Yeah,
they are using a lot more now. They're not professional VOs or anything like that. It is just a person in a whatever it needs to be.
We're asked to do that. So I've had things for like TikTok and stuff where they've said like, we want you to sound like an influencer, or like just a person talking on TikTok, and you're like, okay, do my research on TikTok. But I think we're hearing that a lot more.
I'm very comfortable. My favorite style of work is doing something that really is like trying to be human and emotive, etc. But if somebody came to me and said we wanted to just be like, like you said, like an influencer who's got no voice experience, I don't think I could fully switch off the voiceover brain. There's going to be an element of a performance in there.
It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
Because they also don't just want that. It's a really difficult balance, and you have to listen to it a lot to kind of get it.
Yeah, because so go on.
I was just going to say, I get asked to do like testimonial stuff, where it's like clearly done by a voiceover, but they want it to sound like 90% real, but obviously 10% you are performing, and they can actually hear it, and you're not mumbling off mic and all that stuff. So it is hard to get the right balance, but I love doing that stuff. That is some of my favorite.
I like the
challenge very natural.
Though.
Yeah, I really love it.
About, like,
no one's ever asked me. No one believes that I've ever bought anything.
I'm not real.
I'm not. Yeah, basically, I'm not.
The
real
myth,
person.
the man.
Well, maybe not man or myth, but
or legend.
Or legend. None of it. Basically, the unheard of. I don't get that. I don't get that at request, but maybe that's my own fault for not being in the right places to get the request. Let's call it that.
Okay, sure.
I think it's just one of those things.
I'm conscious that we are going to have to wrap up.
Sorry.
No, and we also have gone massively off me, which was the topic of this. No, I'm joking. It's been really fun talking to you guys.
I think that's what we've done. We've just kind of we've just naturally let it take its own evolution into the conversation.
Before we finish, though, we do need to do our brand new segment.
We do. Oh, of course. Yeah. Jeez, man.
And I'm going to introduce it now because Michael's made me voiceover of the week.
Hey!
How did I do? Yeah? Okay. I'm going to start getting that work now.
The work in progress.
So if you guys aren't aware, if every week Michael and I take it in turns to choose a piece of work that has been shared from people from our profile, and we go through it and see, and then we choose something that has resonated with us, and we share it to try and give them an extra bit of a boost. Nice. And just bring people together. So I'm going to share it with you guys now. This is going to be so clunky. Just bear with me while I try and share my screen. So for the purposes of the podcast, this is done by Gabriella Ashcroft.
Well done, Gabs.
It's an amazing piece.
At Macmillan, we know the visible effects of cancer treatment can have a real impact on your confidence. So our number 7 Boots Macmillan Beauty Advisors are here to help you face the world again. We do whatever it takes for people living with cancer. Find out how you can support us on our website.
Nice. Well done, Gabs.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I
Nice
think what
one
I like
piece
about it as well, I mean, it's just a lovely piece, but it's not overly schmaltzy and like, not too much like, I don't know, sympathy involved in that. I just thought it was a really nicely pitched.
It's got a
well
decent.
done, Gabs.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it's got quite a good balance to it. The warmth is there, but it's still like, yeah.
It's not a sob story type thing.
There's a realness to it. Yeah, there's a realness to it. Yeah.
Yeah, well done. This has been so much fun. Let's do it again sometime.
Thanks for having us.
It's a bit slightly chaotic.
Oh my god! I mean, we're normally chaotic, but this is like next level chaos.
Yeah. I'm very sorry about my.
No, don't be silly. No,
you were worth it, Ant. You were worth getting you on.
That is good acting.
There's
a reason you're nominated. Stop the self-doubt. That is the voiceover performance of the year.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll be accepting that.
But yeah, no, it's we've like I said at the beginning, it's trying to have a few of us on at the same time and just inevitably go in different directions. It was just fun just to let the conversation just take its own form. There's just not enough time in the day. I think we could keep going and going and going. There's so many other areas that I want to sort of touch on, that to sort of get your thoughts and opinions on, but maybe hopefully we'll get that another time. So Anthony, you think you might be going to Vox? Annie, you're not sure still, or you're on the fence?
I'm on the fence. Lots of factors. I've kind of got to decide tonight, really, to get the
with the discount
things.
So, if anybody's listening to this and is going, let us know, because we'd love to say hello to you in person.
Yeah, because a lot of people. I had a few people come up to me at One Voice who enjoy the pod, so I can't name you all, but you know who you are. So thank you very much for that. It was really appreciated.
Really
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And we'll see you next week.
All right, well that's it, folks. Thanks very much for your time. I sincerely appreciate it, and I guess we'll see you next week.
Thanks for inviting us. See you later, guys.